All right, here we go. 3.2F. All right, this one will involve a few more fractions and a few more complicated items. So let's say that we have 2 minus cotangent squared of x times tangent squared of x equals cosecant squared of x minus cotangent squared of x. Yeah, you had plenty of opportunity to go to the bathroom. Do what you need to do. Okay, my big rule is you can only change the left side without changing the right side. Now, you'll see what we run into a conundrum after about a step or two on this one. So, what should we do first on the left side? What should we do on the left side first, Cambry Hunsley? To what? Cosine squared of x over sine squared of x times sine squared of x over cosine squared of x equals cosecant squared of x minus cotangent squared of x. What? Thank you, Jillian, for keeping me in line. Now what do I do? They cancel. When things cancel out, what do they become? 1. So it's 2 minus 1 equals cosecant squared of x minus cotangent squared of x. What's 2 minus 1? 1 equals cosecant squared of x minus cotangent squared of x. And at this point, you're saying, well, can't we just simplify the right-hand side too so they both equal 1? No, not by Mr. Bierschbach's rules. No, you don't get to do that. So 1 is the same as cosecant squared of x minus cotangent squared of x. And you're going, what you talking about, Mr. Bierschbach? Well, remember that cotangent squared of x plus 1 equals cosecant squared of x. So if we subtract cotangent squared from each side, 1 equals cosecant squared. That's cotangent squared. So we're done, just like this. All right, let's do another one. This one isn't so bad. Let's say we have secant of x times secant of x times cosecant of x equals tangent of x plus cotangent of x. How in the heck do we do this? I want to get tangent plus cotangent, and I start out with secant times cosecant. Well, what is secant? 1 over cosine of x times sine is 1 over sine of x. So I get 1 over cosine of x times sine of x. Boy, that doesn't look very much like tangent of x plus cotangent of x. This is where we have to now look at what we have, and off to the side, you have to say, well, I know that tangent of x plus cotangent of x is sine of x over cosine of x plus cosine of x over sine of x, right? So if I want these together, I'd have to multiply them by cosine of x, or sine of x over sine of x, and cosine of x over cosine of x, right? So then I'd get sine squared of x over sine of x cosine of x plus cosine squared of x over sine of x cosine of x, correct? And what's sine squared plus cosine squared? 1. So I have to take this, which is 1 over sine of x cosine of x, and work backwards. So this 1 on top here is going to become what? Well, it's going to become sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x. So sometimes you have to work and write down what the right side is over further to the right and start working it to change it into the left side and then work backwards. So I replaced my 1 with sine squared plus cosine squared. Now I'm going to split these up into two separate fractions. Sine squared of x over cosine of x sine of x plus cosine squared of x over cosine of x sine of x. So I split one fraction into two because they have common denominators. What can I do with the left fraction there? I can cancel one of my sines with one of my sines, right? To get sine of x over cosine of x. Here I can cancel a cosine with a cosine to get cosine of x over sine of x. So what's sine of x over cosine of x? Tangent of x plus cotangent of x equals tangent of x plus cotangent of x. Oh, looky there. I found a way to do it. Okay? All right. Let's work with some fractions. Secant of x over tangent of x minus tangent of x over secant of x equals cotangent of x over secant of x. Ew. All right. If you don't know what else to do, what should you do? Turn things into sines and cosines. So 1 over cosine of x over sine of x over cosine of x minus sine of x over cosine of x over 1 over cosine of x equals cotangent of x over secant of x. I got some complex fractions here, don't I? So I should multiply by the denominator of the denominator. And again, I'm kind of stuck here. And I just don't know where to go from here, right? So what should you do? Well, then just off to the right-hand side, just take cotangent over secant of x and start changing that until you get something that looks something like this, and then work backwards. Okay? Cotangent of x over secant of x is cosine of x over sine of x over 1 over cosine of x, right? So then if you multiply by the denominator of the denominator, you get cosine squared of x over sine of x. I bet I can get to 1 over cosine. I bet I can get to cosine squared over sine squared over sine. What I have to do is make these into one fraction, right? To make these into one fraction, I need a common denominator. So I'm going to have to multiply by sine of x over sine of x. So then I get 1 minus sine squared of x over sine of x equals cotangent of x over secant of x. What's 1 minus sine squared the same as? Cosine squared of x. Which is what this is, right? Now I just have to move up this direction. So what am I going to do to move up that direction? Well, I'm going to multiply by 1 over cosine of x. Let's try that. So then a cosine and a cosine cancel to be cosine of x on top. And then on the bottom, I get sine of x over cosine of x. Did that really help me much? It will. It will. Next step, it'll help me. Then, to get cotangent on top, I have to multiply by 1 over what? Because cotangent is cosine over sine. So if I multiply the top by 1 over sine of x, and the bottom by 1 over sine of x, these cancel. So I get cosine of x over sine of x over 1 over cosine of x, which is cotangent of x over secant of x. And just in those few short steps from here down to here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps was all I got there. So yeah, these are becoming a little bit more advanced. So for 3.2F, you're doing 49, 51, 53, 54, and 55 on page 172. There you go.